Welcome back, everyone watching. We are here again at Underground Graphics. I'm your installer, Gion. We have a quick PPF install for the Bronco Sport. It is the lower rocker panel, so for those that like to maybe either go on a trail of some sort or just for your daily driving needs, so you don't have anything kicking up on that rocker and having any damage done to that. We do have now a protection film now that we are nearing the end of our Bronco Sport protection film series. So before we dive into the install of it, I'm going to go over the cleaning and environment. So of course you always do want to make sure that you have clean hands. Wipe off your hands, make sure they are good and clean, dry them off. Of course you will be working with wet solutions, so your hands will get wet, but you don't want to make sure that you have any grit or gravel or any type of grease that is on your hands. And as well as your environment, you do want to make sure that you have a very good, temperature, climate controlled environment. Right now we have ours at about 72 degrees, but typically you want to be within that 65 to 75 degree range. If anything, if the temperature is warmer and you are towards that 75 degree range, you may need a little bit more of our slip solution, which I will get into that. Or if it is a temperature that is fairly low, it won't tack as well as it should, so we do recommend doing this between those ranges. Anything too warm, it might end up tacking too soon. You might not be able to move around your film as freely as you would be able to if you were in those temperature ranges. With that covered, you do want to do this inside of a garage or a shop. Of course, anything that we have here is made to be as simple as possible, but we always recommend some sort of professional install. But with this, you do want to have a closed garage or some type of enclosed area for your vehicle. Climate control, of course, we had mentioned that, and to make sure that it is clean. So you don't want to have any type of debris because this is the lower area of your vehicle. So you do want to make sure that the lower portion or that the floor of wherever it is that you're working on is either wet or it is very clean and or wet. So that will prevent any dirt or anything from tacking on to any static that might come from the film and get lifted up and trapped underneath the film. So now that we've covered environment and cleaning and making sure that everything is set, now you can get on to cleaning your vehicle. Of course, here we have plenty of towels that you can use. You don't have to have specifically these ones, but as long as they are clean and fairly new, make sure they don't have any type of gravel or grease as your hands in the towels, because the same thing, you will end up trapping that underneath the film. Next, we have anything that you can use to cut this down. We will be sending it to you in one sheet. It is easier to cut down. For some, it might be easier just to lift per panel off the sheet. You can get this wet. It is a type of plastic backing. So if this does get wet, it's not going to be like paper backing and start to disintegrate underneath that adhesive. This is a wet install, unlike our graphics. So once that is up to you, you can either cut it down or leave it as is. We can move on to application. Now, we do have these squeegees on our website. We do have them in an option of black or yellow. That is up to you. The texture of them, or I should say how resistant they are to bending, is the same. So it is the same squeegee. It's just one color or the other color, since those are our colors. And next up, part of our, actually two, which is half of our solution series, we have a alcohol water mix, which is the same alcohol water mix that we've been using in previous videos, but this one is actually purchasable on the website, as well with those squeegees and any other tools that we have for installations, as well as our slip solution. Now that is also the same as our previous videos, where it is a few drops of Dawn dish soap, but this time we have it measured out and itemized for its purposes on top of the bottle, and the rest is water. So nothing different really there, just a different presentation for you guys. And if that is something that would be a bit easier for you to purchase off of us, it is totally great. Of course, we will be able to have a drop down for that if that's something that you want to select whenever you order your protection film. Now we can go on to the install. All right, so now that we have the materials and the process all taken care of for the intro, we are going to start into the install. But really quick before we start doing that, I personally recommend, and I typically will spray down the wheels and the floor or anything that might have just some residual dirt from just simply driving around. Usually whenever you're cleaning your vehicle, I do recommend doing a clay bar before installing any type of graphic or PPF, especially PPF, because it is clear optically. Dirt may end up tracking up into whatever that you're working on. It may create a static whenever you pull off of the backing of whichever, whether it be a graphic or PPF. Personally, I do recommend spraying down your tires with just some soap and water, or just some water. The soap will actually make it dry a little bit slower and will prevent that dirt from raising up, so you won't have to worry about anything getting trapped underneath there. So I did go ahead and spray the tires. I sprayed this lower rocker panel a bit and the floor. So the floor is actually very important, just as important as spraying the tires. Now we can start into the install. Now I did go ahead and cut this down, and I did cut these into 2 pieces. It is a 3-piece kit. So we do have the front fender, very thin piece right there, super easy to install. And here we have the front door, which is a longer piece. May look a little intimidating, but it's not too bad. So I will start with the longer piece. Might sound a bit weird, but once we line that up with the door where it is supposed to be positioned, then we can put on the smaller one, since it is a little bit easier to get out of the range where it needs to be. So again, those clean hands come in handy. I peeled half of this off. I'm just gonna hinge it over this way. If you do have a second set of hands, then that will help you. And I am using our slip solution that we have on our website, and we're just going to generously spray the back side. Of course, make sure your hands are clean. Now we'll go back over to the vehicle. Keep a good distance away from the vehicle, so that way you're not worrying about getting any dirt underneath that adhesive. Of course, if you have a second set of hands, somebody can spray and you can peel. But if not, this is a good way of doing that. Use plenty of that soap and water mixture. We can go back up here, place our hand underneath that flap where it is. And again, clean hands. I might see if I can avoid touching this. If not, I can spray my hands. Make it a little bit easier. That way the face of the PPF will kind of grip onto my hand a little bit and pull off that backing. There we go. Now you don't want to throw this away, because remember, you still have that smaller piece up there. So just temporarily place that there. Make sure you have both sides wet. Now this is a directional specific. We have more of a cutout on the front of the door where this body line is, and less of one towards the back. Actually not one at all towards the back, because it's supposed to continue. This is why it's important to have a good climate. You want to be able to move this around just like how I am. Get it into place. Now once you believe that you have it where you're happy, I'm going to see if I can get it to be even down here at the bottom. I think that would look the best. If it does start to kind of tack on you a little bit, you can lift up a corner up until where that tack point is and spray underneath, or you can try to move it around a little bit. Usually you can somewhat shock it to where it moves a little bit more. But once you have it placed where you like it, then you are going to spray the face of the PPF and then place either a firm, good right hand or left hand, so that way it doesn't move, and you're going to want to lock in somewhere. I like to use the middle. That way I can work from the middle out. And you do want to try and get as much of that water out, especially from the middle, since that is going to be your tack point. Now once you have that top locked in, just continue to run the squeegee down in like a plow motion. Eventually, if you hold from the sides, it should stop moving. And it has. It's not sliding about anymore. I am going to spray this just a little bit more, just to make sure I have a good amount of even pressure on this squeegee, and make sure that this middle is locked in. I spent a lot of time up here at the top to make sure that the water was out there. That's kind of a pre-locking area, and then I'm going to go from where I was down, since gravity is going to pull that water down. Now once we have that middle tacked, we can start working from the middle out. You can either go forwards or backwards. That is up to you. And I'm going to lock in this middle, has like a little bit of a body line there. Now since I did that, I am going to work from top to bottom of that section. And do keep in mind that I am overlapping. So if I want to squeegee about this much right here, about roughly 2 inches, I am going to put the squeegee over that. And then once I go on to the next, I do have this much of the squeegee, quite a bit of it still trailing on that other end. So whenever you are squeegeeing the next piece that you're going over to, then it is adding pressure to where you just left off. That way you can help yourself out as you're going. And you can not have to check your work too much. Now it is a little bit awkward trying to go down on that angle. If you want, you can put your hands both ends of the squeegee and just work that down. If not, one hand can work too. Now we do have that locked in. Same thing back here, just gonna spray that top. If you don't spray the top, then when you go over it with your squeegee, it is very possible that you can either cause the PPF to buckle, or it might end up moving out of position from where you have it. So that is one main reason why, or the most important reason why, we spray the top, and one of the main reasons why I lock in this middle first. So just in case there is a spot on here that is dry, then it's not going to move the PPF too much. Of course, if it does, then if you are in a good climate, you can still allow yourself to move it. Hence why you definitely don't want to do this in too hot of an environment, because our slip solution will dry fairly quickly. And the front door is easy as that. Now we're going to move on to that front piece. Since we have this line right here, I'm going to use this line to match up this front fender, and that should be super quick. All right, again, same thing here. We're just gonna spray the area. If my hands weren't clean, I'd be super worried right now, but I'm not. Now, since this is a small piece, you can either spray the back side of it if you'd like, or you can just spray the surface that it's going to mate to. It's up to you. If you do get anything underneath there, like I have that slight hair, you can do your best to wash that out. Usually small things like that aren't too bad to get out. Kind of looked like there was a little bit of a piece of lint too, so see if I can do my best for that. Almost. Super close. And this is perfect reason why you want clean hands, just in case you need to chase anything out of there. Again, you want to hold down whatever direction is that you choose to hold it. You want to squeegee away from whatever that is. So I've gone ahead, I've locked in the top. You see the bottom is still moving here. That top is stationary. So I'm going to hold my thumb here since this is moving and just squeegee towards that. And then once that's locked in, just give it a quick run back over and then dry everything off so that way the water's not trailing back in there, potentially causing any more lift. Then we'll do the rear. Okay, so now that we've done the front and the front fender, we're going to throw on the rear door. Really quick, I did want to show you guys, since I didn't have a chance to show you on the first two pieces, of just wetting up this side skirt or rocker panel, if you'd like to call it, just so that way if there's any dirt that's on there, it's not gonna go back up into the PPF. And once again, we're just gonna spray that soap and water. I do want to mention that if you have our alcohol water mix, you do want to keep that far, far away from anything PPF. The alcohol will dry extremely fast and the adhesive will react extremely quickly, causing it to stick to the vehicle. So you do not want to spray the water alcohol mix or alcohol period underneath PPF. If by chance you do spray the PPF with alcohol water mix, you can wash it before it starts to dry with the soap and water, because depending on your vehicle, you may end up having a white circle or what would look like a bubble that used to be there from the adhesive not reacting well to that alcohol. So once again, just gonna spray that down. This one does have a notch at the back, similar to how the front does, but it is very easy to tell the difference between them, as the rear door is much shorter than the front door. I have that set. I'm trying not to touch the other side. Again, this side that my hands are touching is dry, and that is for position purposes. For those bubbles that are there, makes it easier for you guys to see. I can move this around freely and slide it into position. Now that I'm happy where it is, I'm gonna spray that top. I'm gonna spray the middle since my hands are still dry and the top of it is still dry. I sprayed the middle where I'm not going to be touching, but where I do want to squeegee. You do want to go over that really light at first. Slowly apply more pressure. Now I have this area locked in from here. Work my way down. If you're thorough enough with it, you shouldn't have to use your hands. Now I am going to use a little bit more water so I can kind of do a plow with the squeegee, make sure that water is out. Now that the middle's locked in, we can work our way from that center out. Spray the rest because that is still dry. Okay, now we have everything on. I'll show you guys how to properly wipe this down without causing any lift from the corners. I'm gonna grab one of these clean towels that we have. Remember, we have this small piece here. I'm gonna start from the middle. I'm gonna go up, middle, down. Don't have to worry about your corners. Now here, a little bit different. If you wanna go from the bottom or the top, you are either gonna start from the middle though, and either work up or down. And then stop before hitting this edge of the other door. Same thing, middle up, and wipe. Stop before that door. The reason we're gonna stop there so that way the cloth doesn't hit that PPF. Middle of the door, right between the two doors, down, middle of the door up. Same here, middle, up, go across, middle, down, go across. All right, so now even though I did go ahead and wipe down that excess water that is not now going to trail down into the PPF, you do still want to give this some cure time. So personally, we do recommend about 4 to 6 hours for this to sit, and you don't want to put this out in a windy area. You do want to have it sit for the first couple of hours, for those roughly 2 hours or so, to see if there's any type of lifting areas going on. So you just want to scan over after about those 2 hours, and then once it is starting to cure, you can put it outside as long as it's not raining or storming of any type of sort. If it is a warmer day, It will help the cure time for this. If not, we do suggest leaving it for about 6 hours, maybe to 8 hours. If you do have that time, let it sit, let it cure, and you'll be happy with the finished product. So for the install today, that is going to be it. We do appreciate you guys watching the video. If you have any questions, please let us know. Comment, like, subscribe. We'll be here from 9 a.m. to 5, Monday through Friday.